Couple of hands later, I pick up 9-7 of diamonds. In the cutoff with 2 limpers, I make it $20, and the under the gun and hijack both call. The flop comes down 9 deuce deuce. Pot $64, it checks to me, and I throw out a small bet that is highly likely to take it down, but the hijack does call. The king of clubs comes on the turn. The pot is now $104. The hijack checks again. I want to tell a consistent story, so I bet out $70. A little on the higher side, taking another one down. I've been folding for a little while. Now I look down at ace, queen, diamonds, hearts in the cutoff. There's 2 limpers, so I make it 18. The small blind and the 2 limpers both call. The small blind is the same guy from the 6-6 hand, and he likes to call bets. The flops comes down king 8-4, all hearts. The pot's $60. It checks to me, and I continue for 25 with the second nut flush draw. The small blind calls. The 8 of club comes on the turn. Pot's now 110. He checks to me, and I decide to pot control in case he already has a flush here and see if I can hit my flush card. I don't think he's folding anything here anyway, and probably will raise me if I bet. River comes the 2 of clubs. Now he leads out for $30. It's a small bet, and if he was on a random heart draw, he missed. The 2 is unlikely to have helped him at all. I decided on making the call, and he shows ace-jack offsuit. I make a note that he likes to play weak hands to raises and call down, and that I've not seen him make any bluffs with missed draws. I've been betting over limpers and taking down small pots for a while now. When I finally pick up a decent hand, king jack, the under the gun +1 guy bets out 20. This is the calling station that likes to play weaker hands. A middle position calls, and knowing what I know about this guy's range, I also make the call. Flop comes down ace 8-3, 61 in the pot, and it checks around. Turn comes the 10 of spades. The under the gun +1 now bets out 25. The middle position calls, and I call with my gut shot. I don't think either of these guys have an ace, so a king or a jack is likely to be good if they hit also. The river comes the queen of clubs. The pot's now 136. I nailed my gut shot, but I checked to let the under the gun +1 bet again, or the middle guy to bluff if he totally missed. Thinking about this afterward, this is probably a bad idea, as they are both really likely to check with weak hands. The flop checked around, the turn was really small. If I bet, they may call a really small bet, but not a big bet, and they probably aren't going to bet it either. It does in fact check around. Under the gun +1 shows pocket kings, and I take it down. It's almost an hour before I pick up another hand. I'm under the gun +1, and I look down at the best hand you can have. Pocket aces. The under the gun limps, and I make it $18. Only the under the gun calls. The flop comes down 7-5-4 rainbow. The pot's $40. He checks it to me, and I down bet to 15, hoping to keep in some overcards and some overpairs. He does make the call. The turn is the 3 of clubs. The 3 brings in a backdoor flush draw, completes a straight draw, but he's not going to have too many 6s in his range, so I continue bet again, this time for $30. I don't want to scare away an overpair. He makes the call again. The river comes the 9 of spades. The pot's now 130. He checks it to me again, and I'm a little concerned he might have 2 pair or a straight and want me to bet again. If I bet small, he could raise me and I'd be forced to fold. If I bet big, he's only calling me with something better. This might be a good spot to go for thin value, but I decided to just check behind. He shows ace-7, and I take it down. I'm sitting here folding for what seems like forever. It's almost 2 hours go by, and then someone at my table gets selected for the $100 promo. So he gets $100, and the next hand gets splashed with $100. I'm on the big blind, and I look down at king 8. It's not a great hand, but I'm in the big blind, so there's that. There are 2 limpers, and the middle position makes it 30, and 3 people call, so I complete. The 2 limpers both call as well, so basically we are in a bomb pot. The flop comes down king jack 2 with 2 diamonds. It checks around to the button, who bets 60. I call, and the cutoff calls. The turn then comes the 7 of clubs. The pot's now $490. With such a huge pot, I don't think I need to bet here with a weak king. It checks to the button, who bets 100. It's such a small amount. I call, but the cutoff ends up folding. The river comes the 9 of diamonds. The pot's now $690. The river diamond gives me an idea. I'm likely behind with my king 9, but the diamond coming in, it's possible I could bluff him off his hand. He's an OMC that typically plays 2-5. I decided to lead into him. I got about 300 behind and he's got me covered. Often people will call an all-in before a large bet because they think it's stronger if you do not go all in. So I decide on a $200, leaving only 100 behind. He knows I'm willing to put it all in anyway. It's a small overall bet to the pot size, but he's been making small bets compared to the pot, so I'm not sure if he either doesn't know what is in the pot or he respects small raises. Maybe both. He hems and haws for some time about me hitting the flush, and then eventually he folds. This is the biggest successful bluff I've ever achieved in my life, and I'm sure it's not going to be that way for long. It's still pretty exciting when things are going your way, even when they're not going your way. It's only a few hands later when I pick up ace king of clubs in the small blind. 6 people limp, and I decide to just limp as everyone has been folding to my raises. The flop comes out king 8-10 with 2 diamonds. The pot's $24. The big blind goes for 10 and the button calls. I raise it up to 35 and only the button calls. The turn comes the jack of diamonds. Pot's now 104. I check for pot control as the flush comes in. Just keep the pot small with the intention of calling any reasonable bet, and he makes it $30. So I'm definitely calling that. The river is the 2 of clubs. I check with the same thought as on the turn. This time he checks back. I show and take another one down. Over an hour later, I finally pick up a hand, ace king, clubs, spades. There are 2 limpers, so I make it 18, and I get 2 callers. The flop comes out favorably. Ace, ace, king. The pot's $55. I down bet to 15 to get a call from an underpair or non-believer, and both of them end up calling. The turn is the 10 of diamonds. Pot's now 100. The big blind checks, and I check hoping for a bet now that it looks like I bluffed on the flop and I'm scared of them. Unfortunately, he checks back, and the river is the 9 of hearts. Still $100 in the pot. The big blind now leads out for 25. My check on the turn seemed to have worked out, but 25 is really small. I bump it up to 75. The next guy folds and he calls. I show, and obviously I take it down. He says he had jack. It's now getting really late, way past when I wanted to leave. The promo's going on. It's kind of keeping me around. Plus the play is pretty bad. Another hour goes by before I pick up a playable hand. It's king 10. It's not great. I'm in middle position. There's 2 limpers. I go ahead and limp, and there's 2 more limpers after that. The button raises it up to 15. I call, and the low jack calls. I really don't know what the rest of these guys are limping with and then not calling it, $12 more with. But the flop comes 10-8-6 with 2 hearts. The pot's $67. Everyone checks the button, who continues for 20. Seems like he doesn't have anything, so I bump it up to 60 and everyone folds. The very next hand, there are 4 limpers, and I've got ace jack offsuit. I make it 18, and the hijack and the button both call. The flop comes ace 10-8. The pot is $67. I continuation bet for 40, as this is likely to hit late position calling ranges with straights, flushes, and weak pairs. The hijack does call. The turn is the 6 of spades. There's 147 in the pot. This is unlikely to change anything, so I bet a little smaller at 75, and he quickly folds. It's super late. I still have a 2-hour drive home, so I cash out. It was a really long session. I only planned on staying for about 4 hours. Ended up for 9.5 hours. I got a 2-hour drive there, 2-hour drive back, so that's pretty bad. And driving home at 3 a.m. for 2 hours is not great. Typically, I don't stay that late. I usually don't have a problem, but you do that for a couple days, and then you start getting a little iffy. So I was in for 500, out for 907 for a profit of 407. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more of these. This is the first one. These are definitely going to get better, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to videotape at the casino. I will be doing some intros and extras from my vehicle, or also videos from inside the casino that are not at the table. We're looking forward to some really cool stuff, and hopefully this channel turns into something you guys like.